What's going on, Warpath? Today we're just going to be looking at how to optimize your troops to be as effective as possible. So, going straight into it without any hesitation, we are going to just dump all of our resources into one unit until you can't go any further. For example, right here, I've gone as far as I can with my prototypes. Red, 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 red. Cannot upgrade any further. My parts, as best as they can be. The wrenches. Red, I cannot put any more into this unit. And I won't put any others into another unit until this is at level 100. All the modifications done. Level 200, everything. So I am as high as I can get with my single unit. This is just an overflow, so it's important to have a second 7.2 ground unit in a different camp, that when you are fully upgraded you can now put your resources into. So modify, there we go. So I've put all of my resources into this one. Parts, wrenches, none, because they're all in my other one. Prototypes, again, I've only gone up to 48% on my first modern, because I want to put them all into here and I am not too far away from the next upgrade, so I don't want to have to reset this again. So dump all of your resources into one single unit. That's because one unit being as high as possible is way more beneficial than having 5 units. Or let's say, because my tank is 21.3 million, it's because all of the bullets and cogs give the same amount of power for each used. If I spread these out into 4 units at 5 million each, my 5 million units are just going to get devastated, right? Even on the same power, my units are just way significantly worse, and I'm just going to burn through reserves. Burn and burn and burn through reserves with little gain, because you're literally not going to have much. Let's say let's upgrade this, right? So I upgraded this to level 150. Right, mods, I can't do all of them. I can do all of the mods so far. I've got this up, right, level 150. It's only got 174,000 firepower. Parts, parts, whatever. So say this was 7.2. 7.2, you're probably looking about 1.7 million firepower, level 200, maybe 2 million firepower with parts. And then we take a look at this one. I've got 6.5 million, right? So this unit is going to stand up way, 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 way better than I would do having my resources spread between 4 or 5 different units. That way my units survive longer. I'm not burning through resources and military funds on reserves. I'm going to get more kills because this unit is able to actually damage enemy units and penetrate them and such. So less resources used, more kills gained, just because I've got this one unit. And what you can do is take note of, and we're going to have a look at these camps here, and we're going to click on this one, and we see having 6 of the same camp deployed will give you 18% more damage and 18% more damage resist. So if we look into this one, 18% on, let's say theoretically this is 7.2 and all mods done with parts. Let's say we've got 18% on 2 million firepower, which is not that much, compared to 18% on 6.5 million firepower. So having random units that you've had, just deploying them like this, you don't even have to train them. Random units will increase the unit you've spent all of the resources in by 18%. 18%, which is huge. Especially as a free player, 18% is a huge bonus you don't want to lose. Most whales will have one of each different camp here, and then so they will never ever get the the 6 camp bonus because they filled up their slots without the same camp, right? They might have a 21.3 million unit, but they won't have this 18% extra bonus. So if you put my unit up against another 21.3 million unit, I'm going to win because I've got 18% bonus and they don't. So it's really important to buff up your highest powered unit as much as possible and taking advantage of the free things the game gives you. And this 18% bonus is absolutely free. I don't have enough resources as you saw to get a third unit to level 200, right? So I'm not going to use it. I'm only going to use the ones that can actually put up a fight. Otherwise, I'm just going to be just literally throwing bodies at the problem, which is also not solving the problem. The only way you're going to solve a problem is by putting high-powered and useful units together. If you fill up an army group full of level 200 7.2 units and just throw them at a group of full modern enemy units, what's the point? You know, you're not going to put a dent in them. So if everyone in the alliance has one super strong unit, that's 200, almost 220 maxed units running around, rather than say 400 or 500 terrible units that just get slaughtered. You're going to have much more fun, have a unit that can defend itself and put up a fight, rather than 4 or 5 units that do absolutely nothing. It's going to make you feel more important, it's going to make you have more fun, and overall it's going to be more useful for your alliance, which is huge. The second thing I'd like to say is making 7.2 of every camp. I like to go for 2 ground and then 1 air force, because you get more ground components than you do air force. So you'll hit a point where you do need to overflow and put your resource into a second ground unit. However, with the air force, as you can see, I really don't have many more resources to max a second plane. So I only need 1 plane to use all of my resources, but I need 2 ground units to use all of my resources, right? So it's very, very important that everyone has a plane to at least put as many resources they can into it. Otherwise it's literally a waste of a whole section of the game if you do not have 1 plane unit. And planes, very, very useful. Not only does it give air cover for the bombers, it gives air cover for your artillery and rocket launchers. So if you have air superiority, the enemy are going to be burning through more and more reserves than if you have no air superiority, right? Because then you're able to freely just bomb the enemy groups running around. People who try to put up a fight with their air force, you have a full alliance full of really nice maxed out air force. You know, they might have a whale. They might have a whale fighter plane, but because your entire alliance, or say 50-50, 50 have gone bombers, 50 have gone fighters, that whale is not going to stand a chance against a mass of decent fighter planes. So it's very important that you have a unit to put all of these Air Force resources into. But at the same time, there's no point sending out an Air Force unit that's half-assed because you don't have a 7.2 to convert into modern. You don't have a modern plane. There's no point throwing those reserves at something that's going to do nothing. So, very important, 1 7.2 Air Force unit and 2 7.2 Ground Force units. You always want to keep these separate camps, because at the end of the day you do need separate prototypes. You need 100 prototypes of each to get to 9.2. So what I recommend doing is selecting 1 unit of each camp. So as you can see, I've got a howitzer, I've got a tank, and I've got a plane of all 3 different camps. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to assemble 100 prototypes of each camp, so I can max these units, right, before moving on and making a second 7.2 unit. because if I make one before I have 100 prototypes, I'll have obviously less potential. I won't have the 100 prototypes to put into and make a maxed unit because I have a second 7.2. So I funnel everything in to one unit and then start making the second. And because you have 100 prototypes of another camp, or at least you have a lot of prototypes for another camp on your journey to maxing one unit, when you finally reach that stage where you can put resources into a second unit, you have the prototypes available to go all of the way, or at least most of the way, to 9.2. And I think that's really huge, because starting again on prototypes, it's not going to happen. So while you're accumulating all of the resources to make a second unit to 9.2, especially refined components, you're building that next 7.2 to use of the camp you've already maxed, which is huge. It's actually huge, because once you've then maxed your second unit, you have the third 7.2 ready to max again. The same with Air Force. So as soon as you hit 100 prototypes in your Air Force camp, you'll build a second 7.2 Air Force unit. And when you're building up, it's going to take ages to get the refined components for a 9.2 bomber or fighter. So you're likely going to have 100 prototypes before then. So you hit the 100, and then any subsequent, you would make a second 7.2 unit that you can use straight away after you've hit the 7.2, then repeat. So after you've got your second 7.2 unit, you'll get another 100 prototypes. So then you can eventually max that one out as well. You're being prepared for the future and just maximizing your potential. Obviously, like I said, I can't at the moment upgrade this any further because I need prototypes. But then I have my second unit to put all of my refined components and stuff into while I'm waiting for more prototypes. So prototypes are the limiting factor, but to go against this, you obviously have a second camp that you're trying to max out as well. Not once. What I would say is use all of your coupons, your camp coupons, on one single camp until you've reached the 100 prototypes. For example, I'm using my tank, so I'm only going to be using my camp coupons on Vanguard Day. No brainer until I've hit 100 prototypes, and then I'll move on to my howitzer, which is Liberty. So after I've got 100 for Vanguard, I'd get 100 for Liberty, and then 100 for Martyrs, and then 100 for Vanguard again, because I'll be working on my next Vanguard unit. So yes, progress like that, maxing one unit and then just using that overflow on your other one. Very, very important, because if you don't have a unit that can at least match up with a fair amount of the enemies, you're just going to, you're not going to have fun, you're not going to have kills, and you're not going to be useful. And having this free 18% bonus is really, really nice. The only other thing I would like to say about getting prototypes is people always have the question, do I use this prototype research or do I make units and funnel them in? I literally just say it's more efficient to use to make units, just because each jurisdiction, it takes 80 coupons to max out the jurisdiction, whereas prototype research uses 100. So you're saving 20 coupons every time, every jurisdiction, and that adds up. So 4 jurisdictions, you are gaining the potential for another jurisdiction, really, using coupons here. So way more efficient to make units. It could be slightly slower, but way more efficient. So that is really much it. I really need people to start fully leveling one single unit and then focusing on another. I hope that helps. It was a pretty quick video, but explaining it, you need to have one unit to stay competitive. Hope that helps, and see you later.